Erika Alexander.
Hey,
How are
how
you?
you doing there? Ernie, I'm doing really good. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you and so much, and welcome to Upfront. We're talking about this amazing film that you were a producer on, and that film is titled, again, Good Trouble, and it's all about John Lewis, who is just such a great human being. I mean, watching that film, I just really gained another level of respect for him. And so, how did you get involved with this project?
Well, I like to say that John Lewis and I were destined for each other. Um, I have been inside of being a surrogate inside of politics for since 2007. And I was a surrogate first for Hillary Clinton in 2007 and 8, and then again in 2016. So that's where we meet up because I am Hillary Clinton's most traveled surrogate after 10 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
she, of course, has been friends and in also being a senator, colleagues with, Congress. She's very much aligned with the Black Caucus. And of course, when it was time to campaign for her second run at the presidency, I was sent to Georgia to campaign with Stacey Abrams, Ayanna Pressley, and John Lewis. Now, that's a huge deal because even then, you could tell those two young ladies were stars. And everybody kept talking about, have you met Stacey Abrams yet? Do you know who she is? I was like, no, no. I mean, I'd love to meet her because Emily's List had, pointed out that these two young people were a heavy comers ups. And here we were with John Lewis campaigning around Georgia.
Mm.
Um, and I have to say that he treated us like we were his daughters. Gentlemen, opening the doors. He would go up steps first, and we would have hear none of it, like treating him as, and he was so vital and so on his feet. But then, and when I say on his feet, meaning, there was nothing old about him. The type of energy he had for campaigning, the type of excitement he got from it. But also you saw that this was an old school person who had learned very deeply that to be of service was to be good. And we got a chance to be young, gifted, and Black in politics with John Lewis. And so I feel like that was a holy grail of learning a lot about the South and with an icon. And then after that, I stayed friends with, or actually I became friends with Rachel O'Neill in his office. And that's how I came to this documentary. And the documentary just kind of happened. We were asked to be a part of something that was being put together and ended up talking to Dawn about something that she was putting together around the Lewis legacy, and ended up joining forces. And frankly, that's why I said it's the universe sort of putting those things together. You couldn't have told me then that campaigning for Hillary Clinton would let me meet all these amazing people in life, but it did. And then you couldn't have told me that I would have a part or a hand in the invitation to make a film about this huge icon.
Yeah. Can you take us back to the set? I know that there were certain parts in the film where he was watching footage, civil rights footage, that he himself had never seen before. So can you take us back to those moments in the film where he was actually seeing footage for the very first time and what that experience was?
That was great. For one thing, Dawn had been thinking, how can I do his big interview? Where will I put him? How will I approach it? And she one day said, I know how to do this. And she said, I'm going to put him in this amphitheater. And we're going to put screens all around him. And then he'll be able to watch his life. And I have to say, when you put a man who has that big of a legacy and personality in front of big screens, suddenly to himself, he's taken back and sort of bowled over by the cinematic experience. And he said to Dawn, he said, I've seen things here I've never seen.
Mm.
And he was looking at it almost like for the first time, because many of those things he had not seen. And he pointed to his chief of staff, Michael, and said, Michael, look, that's my friend. Oh, wow. Oh, there she is. Like, And this, now, John Lewis is a heavy character, but he's a small man.
Yeah.
You know, he's not The Rock, you know.
Right.
In a way, he was being sort of just flooded by memories, flooded. And guess what? The minute he turned to the camera and locked in, you saw how those memories, as big as they were contained in this sort of small package. He was bigger than that. And he would just talk straight and go. And you saw why sometimes people have myths and legacies and all that. And, you know, he fits the myth.
Yeah.
Even though he's looking at it, he's able to contain all those worlds within him. So I just loved looking at him doing it. It was very emotional. I was grateful that I was there in that room. I didn't see myself as like, oh, you're one of the producers. No, I just thought I'm getting the chance to see something that only my eyes can record. And I was grateful. So that's all I could say. And it was absolutely appropriate that, you know, we give a lot of that, oh, that person's a genius, or that person's, no, this person is, if people, that's almost, that's like a God on earth.
Mm.
And he's seen the goodly things he's done for the sake of other people, in service to other people. My God.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as a viewer, it was amazing to see him see things for the very first time, because it's like you've lived this, but as you were saying, you don't remember everything, and then sometimes things is just a blur. So to be able to go back and, like you said, to recall those moments were just truly, truly awesome.
Yeah, he tells us how he met Martin, the Freedom Riders, and chickens, and that he's feeding and preaching to the chickens.
Yeah.
He's able to talk about his cracked skull and all this other stuff. And we're realizing, my Lord, this is the boy from Troy who has
Yeah.
grown up, and he's an older man now, and all those people are dead. He's the one of the last of the great ones of that era. It was beautiful.
Why tell his story now? Why did you guys decide to do this now?
Well, he's a man whose time has been come. We didn't want it for it to pass. That's why I said I was pulled into something, and I just answered the call. Yes, I would do whatever I could. But he should have had many stories told about him. That, I just want to say something a little bit about the funding of documentaries. It needs to be intentional, because we as Black people are losing our great artists to all sorts of things that take the most ordinary person down. They're taking extraordinary persons out, from Prince to Whitney Houston to all these people. And we're not, and Elijah Cummings recently. We need more of that blueprint. And I'm grateful that this happened. I was surprised that not many more had happened. So why, did you say why now?
Yes, why now?
Again, it was time. And I think some things are ordered and ordained out of our control. Dawn Porter was going to do one whether we liked it or not. and you know, there was nothing to stop her. She had gained enough power as a documentarian to be able to name her subjects. Sometimes we, as you know, these things are assigned to people, but she wanted to do it. I think that's also giving more leave to people who tell stories in the documentary space, to journalists and media folk. We need to give them more room to tell them. And that's why.
Last question. Personal lessons. Was there anything personally that you learned spending all of that time around John Lewis that still sticks with you today?
Well, what sticks with me today is nonviolence as an operating a lifestyle, or the way you think and operate in this world, was always something that was outside of me, in something that I'm looking at Martin Luther King Jr. say, or something that we're thinking people who were in that time being water hosed, that's how they made their point. But for me, has never been tested in that way, and has still not. I don't know if I could do it, number one. I'm Harriet's child. I'm a runner. So meaning I'm a rebel, I know it. And yet I'm also a pastor's child and of an itinerant preacher. And we talk about peace, we talk about love. But in the face of violence and hostility, this man has seen it all: assassinations, uh, people spitting on him, cracking his skull in, and real danger. He says, they're jailed over 40 times. Let me tell you something. He's still talking about love and nonviolence. Then I really had to look at myself and say, Erika, you don't have the right to sit on the sidelines in a hypothetical, saying what you will or will not do. Here's a man who's lived it. Now, what are you going to do? And it really made me start to think about, would I apply that if something happened in front of me? That's number one, how I think it's changed. I also saw that he works every day still to defend and protect everyone's vote. And that is a right that he knows is fundamental to the democracy. And we've seen how it's been torn down, and we've seen how it's been attacked. We see how people dismiss it and say, oh, we're going to hold back and we're going to do it. Oh, no, we're not. We're going to vote. You can have an agenda. And I'm not going to let just anybody be the person who instructs and or tells me what I can do with my vote. Those people are dead, bloodied, enslaved for us to get that. We need to be intentional about it. We also need to know that we need to see the right to vote as the cornerstone and proof of a life for a strong democracy. And if he could shed tears and blood and all that to keep the vote safe, because he knows that's what truly makes America great, then I need to make sure that I'm making myself every day a better American example, true American example, on the moral high ground that he's laid to what his legacy truly is.
Wow. Well, Erika Alexander, thank you so